Hello students, welcome back. I am here to introduce new lesson for class 3 in English literature, that is your English 1. This new lesson, lesson number 5, Gulliver's Travels, written by famous author Jonathan Swift. It is a fictional tale. Tale means a story, but in our imagination while reading, it pretend to be the real one. He was the great sailor and the only survivor from his ship. Let us proceed with our lesson, and I know you all are eager to know what happened next with him after he survived. Let us start reading. A long time ago, there lived a man named Lemuel Gulliver. He was a sailor. One day he decided to go on a voyage with his friends. However, when they were sailing, a violent storm destroyed their ship. Luckily, Gulliver was a good swimmer. He swam and finally reached an island. He was so tired that he fell asleep. He slept for a long time. When he woke up, he found himself tied to the ground. He tried to move but could not. He tried to untie himself but he was unable to move. Long time back, there was a man and his name was Lemuel Gulliver, and he was the sailor. One day he and his friends decided to go on a voyage. Voyage means journey by sea with the help of ship and boat. But when they were sailing, there was a dangerous storm. Storm means thunder, lightning, raining, which destroyed their ship. And by luck, only Gulliver was safe because he was the good swimmer. He swam, means continuously he was swimming, and finally he reached an island. Because of long and continuous swimming, he was tired, and as he reached that island, he fell asleep. But when he woke up, he found himself that he was tied with the ropes and he could not move a bit. He tried to escape, but he can't. Gulliver looked around and saw that he was surrounded by tiny men. He stared at them in disbelief. They were no larger than his thumb. He tried to free himself, but they started attacking him with their sticks. Gulliver did not want to hurt them back, so he stayed still. When the tiny people saw that he was not trying to harm them, they brought him food and water. Now Gulliver looked around. He found himself that he was surrounded by tiny people. Those tiny people, they tied him with rope. Gulliver was in disbelief situation. It means that he was not able to believe that these tiny people, just like a thumb size, do they really exist? He again and again trying to make himself free, but those tiny people started attacking with their sticks. Because for those tiny people he was totally a stranger, and because of his height, which was bigger than the buildings, they were totally afraid of him. Gulliver do not want to hurt them, so he kept quiet, means he was not trying to move, he stayed still. When those tiny people saw that he is not doing anything, lying quietly, not moving, not trying to make himself free, then they brought food and water for him. They had to bring a lot of food and water as Gulliver was very hungry and thirsty. Then they lifted him on a huge cart and carried him to their king. Gulliver soon realized that he was in the land of Lilliput. He saw that the Lilliputians were both afraid and excited to see him. They had to bring a lot of food and water because he was too hungry and thirsty. And of course, he had more diet than those tiny people. Then they carried him on a huge cart and brought him in front of their king. Gulliver then realized he was in the land of Lilliput. These tiny people are called Lilliputian. As we live in India, we are called Indian. People who live in South Africa are called South African. Same way, they were called Lilliputian. These people are afraid because he was a complete stranger for them, and excited too because first time they were watching someone like him. Finally, they arrived at the king's palace. The king told Gulliver, "You are indeed a strange man. I will allow you to stay in Lilliput, but you have to promise that you will help us and never harm us." Gulliver promised the king that he would not harm any Lilliputian. Gulliver was freed. The Lilliputians built a house for him. Gulliver stayed with them and helped them. Finally, they arrived king's palace. The king said that you are totally a stranger for us and quite strange because of your height. But I will allow you to stay in this island, that is Lilliput. But you should promise that you will always help us and not going to harm us. He promised to king. Lilliputian helped in building his house and he also stayed with them and helping them in every situation. One day the king sent for Gulliver. "We are in trouble. We need your help," cried the messenger. "Our neighboring island, Belfasque, is at war with us. They are heading towards our island in their warship. You have to do something." One day the king sent one messenger to Gulliver asking for help because they were in a big trouble. They need his help. The problem was neighboring island Belfasque is coming toward their island for war. Now king asked Gulliver to help them to save them from this war, this situation. Gulliver walked into the sea. He took a long rope, tied all the 100 ships together. Then he dragged them across the water. He did this the whole day. At the end, the army had no strength left to fight. The king of Belfasque came begging for peace between the two kingdoms. Gulliver requested the king to make peace with his neighbors. The king always listened to Gulliver's advice. He readily agreed. Gulliver became a hero. He lived in Lilliput for many years and then returned home. Gulliver went into the sea. He took a long rope, tied all the 100 ships together, and started dragging them in the water from one side to the other side for the whole day. At the end, the army of enemies were all tired because they were not able to manage their ships from the Gulliver, because every time the ships were dragged by him. The king of Belfasque came running to have the settlement. Settlement means asking king to stop the war, to stop Gulliver, and asking for the peace between these two kingdoms. Gulliver also requested to have peace and friendship with their neighboring countries or island. King always listened to him and agreed with him. Thus the war was stopped. Both the kings became friends and Gulliver became a hero. Gulliver lived in Lilliput for many years and then returned his home after spending good time in the island of Lilliputian. So students, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, this interesting story about Gulliver. Now it's time to see few exercises, starting with difficult words. Difficult words: Lemuel, Gulliver, sailor, voyage, sailing, violent, island, swimmer, hungry, thirsty, Lilliput, untie, excited, afraid, Lilliputian, in disbelief, palace, messenger, neighboring, warships, Belfasque, 100, dragged, kingdoms, strength, peace, adapted. Jonathan Swift. Now word meaning: sailor, seaman, Lilliput, tiny people, dragged, pull, trouble, problems, voyage, journey by sea, in disbelief, not being able to believe something, island, piece of land that is completely surrounded by water. Now at last, question answer. Answer these questions. Question 1. Who was Gulliver? Answer. Gulliver was a sailor. Question number 2. What was the full name of Gulliver? Answer. The full name was Lemuel Gulliver. Question number 3. Where he reached after the ship was destroyed? Answer. He reached an island named Lilliput after the ship was destroyed. Question number 4. Who attacked the island of Lilliput? Answer. The king of Blefuscu attacked the island of Lilliput. Now homework is to read the lesson, learn the difficult words, word meaning and short answers. Stay safe. Thank you.